In 2022 so far, in the UK alone, which is a small country, there have been 2,371 babies born every day, on average, in this nation. Can you believe that?
Exactly, and every single year, about 140 million babies are born worldwide. That's about 4 babies every single second. That's a lot of babies.
That's a lot of people.
And so does that really mean, though, that sex's only reason is for procreation? Is sex only meant for reproduction? There are 4 things to remember and to think about when asking the question, is sex only meant for reproduction?
In the Bible, very often we see this little phrase, such and such person knew his wife. So, for example, at the very beginning, it would say Adam knew his wife. And later on, it probably would say Jacob knew his wife. And it might also say somewhere else, David knew his wife, etc., etc., etc. Now, although this is definitely a euphemism for intercourse, right? I really do, personally, I like the word know in this particular scenario because it shows there's an extra level, deeper knowledge of one another that you can have because of this intimate act that you have together. So, even though it's old, I really like the word because it shows there's something more than just a physical act. For me, that's a big deal. You can see that it's a big part of the full meaning in the marital framework. Now, it's one part of fully knowing each other.
Yeah.
Okay? But by contrast, Joseph didn't know his wife until after she had given birth to Jesus. So what does that mean? It implies that he could have known his wife while she was yet pregnant and would not have given an extra baby because physical stuff doesn't work like that. So
Not in the norm.
Not in the norm.
It's very out there.
Right?
It does happen, but it's not normal. It's not typical.
Irregular. Now, so it implies that he could have, although that would have been outside of what God would have wanted in this particular occasion because of Jesus. That's more of a spiritual thing, a theology thing. Here's the deal. He could have.
Yeah.
Without her becoming extra pregnant.
Yeah.
Right? Which means, he could have.
Yeah, well, it also means that, what's the point of doing that if she's already pregnant? Therefore, sex is not just for reproduction because she's already reproducing. Why do it again?
Well, you want to make sure.
So the next point is just human anatomy. Women are designed with a clitoris, which is purely in existence for enjoyment and pleasure. Why would it exist if sex was only for reproduction? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't form any other function other than pleasure. And so that's one other reason why sex is not just about reproduction, because there's no point in the whole thing in a person's body to be there if that was the case.
Here's another question. If it were for reproduction only, then wouldn't both partners only ever have any desire when you are able and ready, say for example at the most fertile time of the month, to have children? Then wouldn't that be the only times when you would want to actually
Do things.
Just a thought.
Proverbs chapter 5 verse 19 says, "Let her be as the loving hind and the pleasant roe. Let her breasts satisfy you."
Every time.
At all times. Be thou ravished always with her love.
Ravished. Always.
You're supposed to enjoy each other. And if it said, and be ravished always with her love, it's not always as long as she's able to reproduce you a child. That's not what it says. No. Breasts are not just there when you have babies. Women have breasts beforehand. Ta-da, right? And so it's like, if it was a case that, let her breast ravish you at all times, it's like the times when you're having a baby, but that's not actually what it says, because breasts exist all the time. So you're supposed to enjoy. You're supposed to
one another. You're supposed to enjoy one another. you're supposed to enjoy.
So it's not just about reproduction. So Proverbs was mostly written by Solomon, and obviously he had involvement in writing the Song of Solomon. So obviously, Song of Solomon, if you go into it, there are loads of different verses that are understood to be metaphors and explanations about sex and about marital relationships. But it's not just about that.
It's also, in a big way, God's relationship with the church, but it's not just that.
It's also practical things. It was also Solomon teaching his sons about how to interact with women. I mean, that was something that them as a family, but really that was a thing they struggled with.
That was a thing.
That was the thing. And to answer the question, is sex just reproduction? No.
No, I mean, that is literally biblical.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so
And King James Version biblical too. I'm just saying.
So while it is a function of sex, obviously that's literally how the human race continues and reproduces and replenishes the earth, it's not its only function.
The thing is, in marriage, one gives all of oneself to the other, right? And sex shouldn't be a sacrifice that I'm giving that allowing that other person to have pleasure, therefore I will suffer. No, it should be Pardon?
Reciprocal.
Yeah, it should be the two of you together enjoying one another. God gave himself to us to enjoy him, but also we are to give ourselves to the Lord so that he can fully enjoy us. Now, when you're talking about this particular topic, sex only for procreation or not, then you're trying to bring the Lord into it and it sounds a bit weird, you could say. But we are literally in the middle of a Christian channel about marriage, and you can't extract the spirituality from this thing. We are meant to enjoy one another, just as the Bible says that Jesus was given and gives himself for the church. We are supposed to do the same thing.
And our series that we're working on at the minute is intimacy and sex inside of marriage. And so if you want to hear some more videos, get some more clarity, understand some more stuff, get a different perspective maybe than your own, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will see you on the next video.
That's right.
Bye guys.
Bye.